this lesson, we will examine the concept of Agile project management and see its strengths, applicability, and limitations. The Agile project management models can be considered a practical application of the flexibility principle, just as the stage gate is applying the anticipation principle. There are numerous methodologies in the wide family of Agile project management, including Kanban, Extreme Programming, Scrum, which is probably the most widespread, and many others. These methodologies originated in the software world, which in the early 90s realized that the stage gate model was not useful in this specific field. Agile approaches are based on redundancy, constant redesign, and continuous specification changes, which are not new or only related to the software world. In a splendid 2010 article published in the California Management Review, Lenfeld and Locke proposed an analysis of projects from the 40s, such as the Manhattan Project, which led to the atomic bomb. They show that phase parallelization, the simultaneous launch of parallel and alternative projects, and the avoidance of any form of precise time and cost planning were standard practices for highly innovative projects. Subsequently, the need to rationalize cost and anticipate the expected benefits of investment led influential entities, such as the Department of Defense of the United States of America, to create more rational, linear, and efficient approaches, leading to stage gate method. With the advent of the digital technologies and new turbulent sectors in the new century, the inadequacy of stage gate approaches in managing some projects has become increasingly evident, and the desire to propose an alternative system has led to the emergence of a real cultural movement. In 2001, 17 software developers attended a conference in Utah and wrote the Agile Manifesto, which states, "We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others to do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interaction over processes and tools, work in software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more." If Agile approaches have proven to be extremely valid in the software world, we are now in a situation where many other areas are wondering about the real portability of such approaches in different fields. Initially, Agile methods were wrongly considered the dominant new design against stage gate. There are projects and areas where the linear approach is still in the optimization phase, as it allows to achieve the results while minimizing time and cost. In these areas, an Agile approach would be useless. It would lead to higher costs and inefficiencies without increasing the project effectiveness. Today, we are much more aware that the two models are not the evolution of each other, but coexist because they respond to different needs. In particular, it is possible to identify 5 key drivers to understand whether to implement Agile approaches. These are the variability of the market, the ease of involving the client in iterative and continuous processes, the degree of uniqueness and innovation of the project output, the possibility of breaking the output down into self-testable sub-deliverables parts, and the reversibility of any errors to turn them into learning. As all these variables grow, the potential of an Agile approach increases compared to a traditional approach. However, many of these variables are still low in many areas, and a completely Agile approach is inadvisable and even harmful. After the diffusion of Agile methods in software-based companies, many other companies began to look with curiosity to these methods that promise effectiveness and efficiency, bringing non-IT business functions to try the same approaches. Simultaneously, a certain reticence towards Agile methods also emerged, often linked to unsuccessful experiences with the adoption of these methods. It is often related to the strong resistance of the traditional project management faithful. The main reasons for these failures are to be found at first glance in the wrong methodological application of Agile methods. In other words, they are often applied without respecting some key principles of the method, which enable agility but is pretty rigid itself. Secondly, they have been implemented on wrong projects or in the wrong contextual conditions. Not all projects are suitable to work with agile methodologies. There are situations, for example, where the level of uncertainty is low or will tend to fall significantly with the development of the projects, where traditional methods are much more suitable. We may go back to the Agile Manifesto to dig into why many companies still fail to leverage the Agile project management opportunities. There is no doubt that the manifesto funds much of its reasoning on processes and tools, useful to overcome those constraints that usually software projects faced if managed from a traditional perspective. Still, we can see how dimensions related to the relationships between people and the approach with which they work also emerge. For example, some principles talk about sustainability over time of agile work, keeping stress under control, or assessing iterations as a way to learn as individuals and as a team. That's why we want to highlight how the agile world has two souls in its unique manifesto. One related to tools and processes to work in agile as a tool, and one oriented to the way people behave by using agile as a culture. The first of these two souls, that of tools, is the most recognizable and widespread in organizations. It is clear that in today's world, Agile comes from many experts in the field as an excellent tool for flexible project management. In this sense, many companies have taken processes, tools, and frameworks developed for software development, such as Scrum we mentioned before, and brought them back to other worlds, using Agile as a pure tool. At the same time, in the manifesto, we find principles related to experimentation, to the use of prototypes, to the attitude to always accept change, to the focus on motivation or the continuous conversation with the client, which mainly show the need for a mindset to adopt a specific behavioral approach, in other words, a real organizational culture. Being able to accept failures and criticism and therefore experiment through the project is a key element of the Agile Manifesto. It is even more so for the diffusion of the Agile culture. Organizations, to be successful in embracing Agile project management, should consider both the tool and the cultural dimensions, working on processes and people. Otherwise, limitations of Agile project management will overcome the benefits.